For a perimeter of rectangle, we take 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, because these are the same across from each other, so it's like 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5, and it's just 30. The width of a dance floor is W, and the length is 6 feet longer than W. So L is equal to W plus 6. If I start off with my typical perimeter equation, I can replace L with what it's equal to, distribute the 2, and combine like terms. The answer is B. We know that these two are parallel and that these distances are the same, which tells us we're looking at an isosceles trapezoid, but we have to break this up into a bunch of smaller parts. This is going to be 5 and 5, which tells us that we have 8 and 8 down here, since that total length is 26. And since the height here in the middle is 6, the height here is going to be 6 and 6. So I can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out that 8 squared plus 6 squared is equal to c squared. So these are both going to be 10. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 26 is 56. If you're not sure what they mean by a square being inscribed in a circle, it fits inside the circle and the 4 vertices touch the edge of the circle. So it looks like this. And if I start in the center and go to one of those vertices, the radius is 6 root 2. Here I can set up the Pythagorean theorem that the hypotenuse squared is equal to 6 root 2 squared plus 6 root 2 squared. So 6 squared is 36, and 2 squared, or the root 2 squared is 2. So this is going to be 72 plus 72. C squared is equal to 144, so C is equal to 12. There's 4 sides to this square, so 12 times 4, the answer is 48. If we take this formula and we turn it into a chart where we plug in different numbers for the perimeter, which is kind of like our x, and we get different outputs for the area, what they're asking is, for each additional square foot of the area, what happens to the perimeter? So as the area goes up by 1, then the perimeter goes up by what? Well, notice here, this goes up 4, this goes up 1. So if I divide that by 4, I divide this side by 4, and the answer is 1/4. Because these are parallel, and they're both 90 degrees, they're proportional. So this bottom length of 3 corresponds with this length of 9. It's triple the length. So this length of 5 corresponds with the big length of 15. Now I can use Pythagorean theorem to figure out 15 squared plus 9 squared is equal to c squared. So 225 plus 81, 306. The square root of 306 gives me about 17.5. So if I add that with 9 and 15, I get 41.5. The length is 9 feet less than 3 times its width. So L is equal to 3W minus 9. They tell us that the area is equal to 5670, which is equal to the length times the width. In this case, I can substitute L with what it's equal to. So 5670 is equal to W times 3W minus 9. I can distribute the w and move the 5670 over and factor out a 3. So 3 times this entire thing. And if I take the square root of 1890, it's around 42. So I'm guessing 45 and 42 are going to be my numbers. Because if I multiply these two together, I get this, and if I add them together, I get that. So what do you think my width is going to be, 45 or negative 42? Well, I'm going to go with 45, just because it's not negative. So I can plug that in over here. 3 times 45 is 135 minus 9. Length is 126. So double the width plus double the length is my perimeter, which turns out to be 342. So a cube has 6 sides, think like a die. There's the 6. So then the area of each face is going to be side length squared. So a over 4 is equal to s. So a over 4 is equal to s. And remember that for perimeter of a square, it's going to be 4s. So I'm going to take 4 and multiply that by a over 4. And the 4's cancel out, and I'm left with just a, which is the answer B. So if this is an equilateral triangle and I split it right down the middle, then I am looking at a 60-degree angle down here and a 30-degree angle up here. And across from 60 is x root 3. Across from 30 is x, which is just going to be 5. And across from 90 is 2x, which is going to be 10. So it turns out all 3 side lengths are 10, because this is 5 and 2 spots. So the perimeter is 30.